Thank you very much. Thank you, the whole team at Artefact, for putting on such a robust event. So my name is Lauren Ducrey. I am a poet, and I also spent 7 years at Google developing virtual agents like the Google Assistant and Gemini. So how did I get there? I made the very passionate decision as a young teenager growing up here in France to study literature. And guess what the #1 question people asked me was? What the hell are you going to do with a diplôme in littérature? Fast forward about 15 years, and I find myself a poet working at the bleeding edge of one of the biggest technological disruptions of my generation, AI-powered large language models. So I'm making the wild assumption that everybody here knows and has used ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, etc., which are basically massive predictive machines, right? They're very good at predicting the next word in a sentence. So as a refresher, very probable you might say the sky is blue, less probable you'd say the sky is clear, and even less probable that you'd say the sky is smiling, although arguably the most poetic of the 3 options. So basically, these models are really good at producing large amounts of natural language, the language that you and I speak. And this has vast implications. But what I would like to focus on today with you is how I think this is an unexpected invitation for us to reclaim our imagination and our emotions as the core of what makes us human. Since the Renaissance, at least, we have decided that what makes us human is our ability for rational, logical reasoning, right? I think, therefore I am. And so we've honed our cognitive abilities above everything else, and we even tend to refer to our minds as supercomputers. But then something happened. ChatGPT was launched, and we realized that these models were much better than us at analyzing large amounts of data systematically. We realized that some of the abilities we took to be uniquely human weren't unique to us at all. But at the same time, we also saw folks starting to reclaim our emotional sensitivity as the token of our humanity, saying things like, sure, ChatGPT can write a novel, but it lacks soul. So again, I think we have a unique and very rare opportunity to value our emotional intelligence as much as we valued our cognitive intelligence over the years. And who are the original experts in emotional sensitivity, emotional intelligence? Poets, writers, and artists. Poetry, to me, is an irreplaceable science of the human experience. Its laboratory is everyday life in its awesome messiness. And its tool, its microscope, its stethoscope is something that we all use. Language. Natural language. Yes, the same stuff that these large language models are made of. So not only are poets and writers experts of our emotional sensitivity, they're also experts in language. And that is exactly what tech companies need right now. Because I can tell you from my experience at Google, the more we model natural language, the more complex it reveals itself to be. Human expressiveness is incredibly complex. And poets and writers know this. The whole point of poetry is to play with the expressive potential of language, to decode it and encode it in the form of poems, novels, plays, etc. And this dual mastery of language and emotion is what I want to focus on today by sharing some examples of AI tools that leverage that dual mastery in very impactful ways, because these tools actually help us, humans, become better communicators. The first example I want to share with you is how my former team at Google made the Google Assistant a model for empathetic communication. So we know the top questions that people ask the Google Assistant. And during COVID, we noticed a new type of question start to emerge. Things like, I'm sad, I'm scared, I'm lonely. And so we partnered with psychologists and clinical experts to come up with the most appropriate answers without straying into giving therapeutic and clinical advice. And so I'd like you to think, if you were to have a moment of confession with a virtual assistant and say something like, "I'm sad," which answer would you find the most appropriate to receive? Option A, "I'm sorry you're sad. I hope you feel better soon." Option B, "Thanks for sharing that with me. Being honest about your feelings is a big step." Or option C, "Sadness is a common emotion. Feeling down or unhappy in response to grief, discouragement, or disappointment is normal. If ongoing, this may indicate depression." Your laughs are giving me a hint of your answer. So the strategy that we went with is option B. "Thanks for sharing that with me. Being honest about your feelings is a big step." And then we added, "I've been learning about ways to cope with sadness. Would you like to hear one?" And the research shows that the most important thing to do, even in human-computer interactions, is to first validate the person's emotion so that they feel seen and understood. And once you've validated their emotional state, you can move on to offering a definition, like we saw in option C, or providing solutions. But if you skip that step, you're shutting down communication because the person doesn't feel seen and understood. So beyond modeling empathetic communication, AI can also actually help us practice our own empathetic communication. The Trevor Project is one of the biggest crisis hotlines in the United States, and they developed a chatbot. But the chatbot was not designed to interact with people calling with a crisis. The chatbot was designed to train counselors to practice having these life-saving conversations with the chatbot before having them with actual callers in crisis. Now imagine if you had a place, had an entity that you could practice having difficult conversations with in your everyday life, at work, at home, before actually having those conversations. Well, two people from the Trevor Project, Sam Dorison and John Callery, went ahead and created a tool that got us halfway there, and I got to work on it. We developed Home Team, which was designed for US military veterans to become better supporters for other veterans in crisis. Why veterans? Because of this very unsettling statistic, that veterans are 1.5 times more likely to die by suicide than non-veterans. And so the team identified this opportunity. They identified that 92% of veterans report wanting to help peers with their mental health, but only 25% feel equipped to do so. So with the team, at Home Team, we set out to bridge that gap by building an educational tool that could equip veterans with practical skills to have impactful conversations about mental health. So learners of Home Team go through educational modules, learning skills like active listening or how to ask direct questions about suicide. But there's a twist. In each module, the learners then get to practice those skills with a virtual AI character that plays the role of a veteran in crisis. You can think of this as a flight simulator, but for conversations. And I just want to pause there how much of a game-changing use of AI this is. Because what Home Team essentially does is that it flips the script from AI providing support to humans, like a therapy bot, to AI enabling humans to be better supporters to other humans. Home Team doesn't replace an existing human role, but it does open a completely new space for conversational practice that didn't exist before. So my question to you is, what difficult question would you have tomorrow if you knew you could practice having it in an anonymous, low-risk environment? How would that change your day, your week, or the day of the person you're about to have this conversation with? Emotions researcher Brené Brown says that language is the greatest tool for meaningful connection, and having access to the right words changes everything. Both poetry and AI can be really impactful tools for us to find the right words. And although I'm running out of time, I want to leave you with a few words of poetry to show you the direct impact that words can have on our lives when we find the right words. One day, the community of madness that are the voices inside your head will become so loud They will shake you with all their hands and push tears through your eyes until you very nearly forget that you can hold yourself. Until you very nearly forget that this net of thought is desperate to catch your ocean of unstoppable emotion, and that this net of thought feels so true because you've precisely made it to keep reality from view. And it will rope you into a place where you can't remember that your body has got your back. Your body has got your back. So sit up, sit straight, take a breath and feel yourself. Feel yourself with the same strong, soft touch as your mother, friend, or lover. Invite them under your skin until you warm with the present memory of their faces and familiar embraces, and you realize that your body is a home because anyone who's ever moved you still lives inside. And one day, the community of madness that are the voices inside your head will become a loud invitation to summon the community of kindness that are the voices of your people instead. Thank you very much for inviting some poetry into the room. Would love to keep the conversation going with you. Thank you.